Yo, what's good, everybody? So, I'll be honest, today, I didn't really have like an actual proper video in plan. I was probably just gonna do what I've been doing for the past like month, if I'm being quite honest, where I just, talk about my day a little bit, ask you guys how your day was, and leave it at that. And yes, I'm being quite lazy, I'll admit that much, but it is also not entirely an excuse. School's, busy right now. Midterm season's about to end. As I've mentioned in previous videos, I have two remaining midterms, Saturday and Sunday. But today's video, yeah, it came from nowhere, honestly. I was, on the bus going home, listening to some music, and right before I entered my apartment, I had my AirPods in, right? So I'm listening to music, and I got a text message from my friend, and he said, "Bro, I got A plus on marketing." And as I've talked about it, I have marketing right now. We did the midterm before the reading break, and the teacher was kind of known, or maybe not known, but from what I saw online, like rate my prof, it seemed like getting anything above a B was probably very difficult. And so my expectations weren't very high. And I thought that, okay, with his expectations, at best case scenario, I get A minus, likely something in between B, worst case a C plus, right? Like I didn't have the highest of expectations despite I think performing really well on the midterm. And when I heard that, I was really happy for him. First of all, I was a little shocked because he did mention today in class that the results were really good, and to be fair, the questions were really easy. I'm not sure how he did it in the past, but we kind of knew the questions beforehand. Like, not necessarily, but he always provided like questions, like practice questions for every chapter. And the questions that we ended up having were somewhat similar. So you knew what to talk about, but I guess, getting the A plus or getting a really strong response would require to go into a lot of detail and some class concepts, right? And so I'll be honest, when I heard that he got an A plus, I didn't think I got an A plus either. I as well. So I was a little nervous because I was thinking like, okay, I'm gonna have to check it. I'm just hoping for anything above an A minus because anything below would be quite disappointing, especially in comparison to my friend. And to be honest, this is definitely an ego thing. I don't know if I necessarily studied more for that midterm or more effectively than him, but overall, I am a, let's say, higher achiever in school than him. Most classes, I do better than at him. So I was thinking, okay, well, did I get an A plus as well, or did I do worse? I checked, I got an A minus. And quite frankly, I was not too upset about it. An A minus, especially considering what I saw online and just with how I knew I answered the questions myself, it's a pretty good score. And I know for sure that if he told me, my friend, that he got a B, B plus, anything below an A minus, I would have been super happy. Not necessarily because my friend did worse than me, but because it meant that I did very well in comparison to, let's say the average, right? That wasn't the case. And not gonna lie, I was a little hurt. And it just comes down to, as the title says, comparison is the thief of joy. If I didn't know what he got at all, or if I didn't have any friends in that class, I would have been super fulfilled with an A minus. That's amazing. It's not what I usually get. I did do better, but taking everything into consideration, maybe a few excuses in mind as well, A minus, solid. Then you start comparing with others that you usually outperform, and your ego comes into it. And that's what happened. It's just the ego thing. I usually perform better than my friend. He doesn't take school as seriously as I do, and he did better than me. So that's the only thing that really stings, right? And I don't know how I can expand on this, but yeah, I mean, please stop comparing yourself, on social media, especially especially if you work out. Maybe you've started going to the gym, maybe you've been hitting it for 6 months, and you see all these influencers that are on steroids, or they're not natural, or they just have more money than you so they can do surgery, whatever it may be. They're gonna look better than you. And you're gonna think, wow, they've been at the gym for only 2 years and they look this good, and I've been working out for 5 years and I look nothing like them. And it really fucks you up. Like, it really does. And obviously, this example isn't necessarily much relevant or similar to those scenarios, but it still applies. As long as you studied hard and you know that you did a good job on the exam, no matter what your result is, you shouldn't care about what someone else got. People are always going to do better than you. You're realistically never going to be the best at anything. Okay, that actually sounds pretty depressing, but you know what I'm trying to say. Like, there's always someone that can do something better than you. And there might be something that you can do better than them in a specific way, right? Like, I've had scenarios where I got the best scores on midterms or finals. I was the number one, best scores. But there's also been times where I probably was in the lower percentile of best scores, right? Like, maybe I got like a 60. That's happened before in a final. My first year, I still ended up with a good grade, like an A minus, but I did get like a 65 in the final. Like, it happens to all of us. You're not always gonna have the best days. And also, if you think about it, especially my scenario, I don't know if it's jealousy, it's probably just the ego thing, but it's also you're like downgrading your friend or whoever you're comparing yourself to, because you're basically thinking, or your ego's thinking that, oh, I'm better than this guy, but you're not. We're not better than nobody else. We're not. I'm not any better than him. I'm not no better person than him. I might work harder than him at school. That doesn't mean that I'm always gonna outperform him. And who cares if I didn't outperform him? It's happened before. In a day or so, it's not gonna matter at all. So why care so much? Why have such a meaningless thing bother you? Whatever it may be that you're doing, if you're working hard at your job, or you're doing this and that, do it for yourself. Work harder for yourself and for the results that you want to achieve and get better at. Let's say for myself, I got an A minus. I can look at what went right, what went wrong. I know what I could have done better. And then I can interpret those, that analysis and change things moving forward. But then when you start looking at other people that might have done everything completely different than you, it just messes up your mind, because I don't know how he studied. I know that he studies differently than I do. Maybe he studies more effectively than me. And what in that scenario, what I should do is actually take this comparison in a positive way. I should say, oh, he got an A plus. His responses were stronger than mine. Let me ask him, how does he study? What he does a lot is he likes to take notes on paper. So for marketing, it's a very conceptual class. So what he does a lot, that I know he did last year as well, for a society class, is he would go through the slides and just write out a lot of the notes. And that kind of makes it easier to, remember certain concepts. For me, when it came to this, all I really did was I took notes digitally, which definitely isn't as effective, but it is, better for time consuming. And I answered the questions. But then you can think about it, okay, let's just say you can always make excuses, right? But you can also defend yourself, or it goes vice versa. But essentially, quitting the yapping right now, what you should take away from this is stop comparing yourself to others, because we're not equal. I know I said beforehand that no one's better than anyone else. I'm not no better than you and you're not better than me. But we're not equal. Quite frankly, we're not equal. We're all born into different circumstances. We all look different. We should all, form and, unite. But we're not equal or the same, right? We're all different in many ways. And that's what's beautiful about every single one of you guys. We're all different. And that's what makes you, you. You're unique for a reason. Certain people like I perform better in mathematical related courses. Other people enjoy psychology related courses and they would do better than I would. You just have to know your strengths and weaknesses, accept it, and if anything, if you're going to compare yourself to someone else, acknowledge why the comparisons are different and it'll make a little more sense. And if you don't know, just ask. Let's say there's actually someone, last thing, let's say you're comparing yourself to other people on social media about their physique. Why don't you check out what they're doing? Why don't you see if what they're doing, for instance, when it comes to working out, is legit? Are they really natural or are they not? Check out their workout routines. Ask them, DM them. Why not? Reach out to them and ask them, what do you do? How did you get this big in this short amount of time? Yada yada. And you'll most likely get an informational response in return. So you can always learn from comparison, but also I wouldn't advise it for most people. I think most people, like I, can get emotional, can get the ego. You can't get control of the ego, and it kind of makes us feel a bit worthless in some extent, or just affects us in the wrong way. But if you're able to become more mature, or actually take some time to yourself and analyze the overall situation, you could do something more mature. As I said, reach out to them. Ask them, why are you better than me at this? Simple as that. You could do something like that. You might get some results, and it is what it is. Last thing I'm going to leave it at. You won't expect a basketball player that's 6'6" to not... Wait, okay, I'm making a quote, but basically what I'm trying to say is, do you expect someone like Stephen Curry that's 6'2" to be a better dunker than someone that's 6'6"? You most likely wouldn't. Kevin Durant can dunk the ball better than Stephen Curry. First of all, Curry can barely dunk the ball. But even when he does, he's not doing no windmills. He doesn't have the highest vertical. He's not the most athletic. But KD, he's taller. He can do the windmill. He can do those sort of dunks, right? You can even compare someone that's similar height to him, like a Russell Westbrook. Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell's very athletic. He was in the dunk contest. He went crazy. He's a little taller though, but you get the point. But the thing is that differentiates Stephen Curry from the other people, he's the best shooter of all time. Find your strengths. Simple as that. Peace.